Hello, my name is Christopher Kessner, and this is a video of my classroom on October 26, 2018. This is a first period class, so the time is around 8:30. The objective of this lesson was for students to develop their vocabularies through technological means. They will be creating a Google Slides project, pulling words from the two readings that they have looked at so far, Shooting an Elephant and Heart of Darkness, which is from our unit on literature of imperialism. So in this particular portion, I am presenting the model of a title slide and one of the vocabulary slides.
So, gentlemen, let's debrief on Mr. Kessner's first period class. What did you see? What was your feedback? What were some positives that you want to share?
All right, so I'll start. So upon walking into the classroom, Mr. Kessler was standing up front, giving the students, asking the students what they saw on the board. And the students were raising their hands to participate, which I think is a plus. And the teacher was asking questions to engage the students. So instead of kind of lecturing them and leading them on, he would ask them what they saw, and then they would obviously have to observe. So I didn't really have too many qualms with that. A delta would be that just a couple of students had headphones in their ears. I guess that since they just came in, that's really it.
Okay, that's good. Antonio, do you want to piggyback off that?
I felt that similar to what he said, that students were actively listening to Mr. Kessner, and they were engaged. Because instead of him just, as you said, lecturing, he was actually inquiring them, asking questions to make sure that they understood what was going on. And a delta would be that there's minor, irrelevant side discussions occurring. But as you said before, it's because they just came in and they're still adjusting. So that's understandable.
It is first period. There were quite a few students there as well for first period. All right, so is there anything that we want to recommend to Mr. Kessner besides the deltas, the things that we might change to get more participation from the students with the earbuds or the students who are having side conversations?
I mean, for some of the students that were coming in this file, she was telling them to take a picture of the notes so that they can write it in their notebooks later, stuff like that, which I think that's good. I guess I wouldn't really change too much because I didn't really see the whole lesson pan out. But I think so far it's okay because you can't really change some of the stuff. Students are always going to have side conversations. But,
True.
I think as long as he keeps asking them the questions and maybe just have different students raise their hands because sometimes it's always the same students. But
Antonio, how do you think he could do that? How can we get different students to participate?
Similar to what you said, maybe it has something to do with the seating arrangement. So maybe because some students where they're sitting affects the way they participate. So maybe if they're too far from him, they're not as active in discussion as others who are maybe in front.
True. It would have been interesting if we could go back in there and see how the beginning of the lesson unfolded, walking around like we usually do, seeing students working. But unfortunately today we have a few time constraints. Well, I appreciate all that feedback. I think it was overall a very powerful intro to the project. Did anyone see Mr. Kessner also hold up his rubric that he was referring to?
I know he was telling the kids about that. So.
Yeah, about the project that they're undertaking, and the date I found very interesting. That he kept reiterating what date it was due and how long away that is, because time. You think, oh, I have plenty of time, and then. All right. Well, I think for now that was a good, quick 10-minute inter-visitation, and if you think of anything else, you can email me, but I'm going to take some notes and put it together, and I'll email you both for verification. Okay, Mr. Kessner, welcome. Antonia, Jared, how are you?
Hi.
Good. So
Hello.
we're following up on the inter-visitation that we conducted last Friday, Mr. Kessner, in your class, first period, approximately 8:30 a.m. And we walked in and you were giving instructions on a vocabulary project. And there was a title slide up on the board and you were giving very specific instructions about how you wanted these slides. I noticed that you had a rubric that you were also referring to. You were interacting with the students, allowing them to read parts of the title slide, what you wanted in the slide for verification. Students had their notebooks and notes while looking up at the slide. I'm going to pass this to Jared now.
All right. So in your classroom, for the positives, I saw that students were raising their hands to participate, which I liked. And I also like that you were asking questions to engage the students instead of lecturing them, which I appreciate that you do that.
Similar to what Jared was saying, students were actively listening during discussions, so it was less of him, instructing the students. It was more of like an ongoing discussion. So he would say something, and students would respond. And if students had like a concern, they wouldn't just be quiet about it. They would voice their opinion, like their concerns to him, and they would be answered.
Yes, I also heard some partner work when there were questions. Not only did they refer their questions to you, Mr. Kessner, they were also asking their partner, which added to the student autonomy, in my opinion. I would say that everything was organized. One thing I might change is perhaps just giving them an opportunity to try one of the vocabulary slides after your directions to see if they got the gist of it. But otherwise, it was a very solid intro to the lesson. Jared?
All right. So for adults, I saw a couple students had their phones out. Is there any reason for that?
In the do now, I listed 13 words from their reading. They're reading an excerpt from Conrad's Heart of Darkness. And they were to access either their phones or the dictionaries that were on the desks. Dictionaries in order to define those words. So that's the reason why so many had their phones.
Another delta that I also noticed was that while you were instructing the students and having the discussion, there were some minor, irrelevant side discussions occurring between students. And is there any reason, or how can you fix that?
For those students, sometimes distractions do occur in classrooms, and I would circle back with those students throughout the course of the activity period, just to follow up and to ensure that they are clear in terms of what the project entails and my expectations for the project.
So at this point, I think it would be important to discuss the next steps based on the feedback that you've received today. We'll be visiting again in the next round of inter-visitations, but let us give you a chance to respond to anything that you've heard today.
Well, I feel as though phone use, the kids are going to have phones and everyone has phones. So one thing that I feel as an educator, I need to teach them how to utilize those phones in an appropriate manner. And the dictionary apps, the SARS apps are one way for them to use phones in classrooms to really enhance learning opportunities. With that being said, paper dictionaries are fine as well.
Yeah.
Side conversations, as I said, they do happen, and that's just a part of being in education, the need to redirect teenagers. Sometimes the need to redirect adults as well comes up. So definitely I feel as though that is something that occurs in every classroom, and I think it lessens once students start to get into the activity and start doing. Just to address your point, Ms. McCullum, about the opportunity to attempt slides, that did come in the activity where they were
great.
making the slides.
Okay.
All right.
And we were only in there for a short period, so fair.
Yeah. And each student had the opportunity to email me and receive a copy of the slideshow.
Okay, great. Is there a chance that we might be able to visit again when the students are presenting their slides?
Yes, November 16th.
Oh, great. Is the gentleman available on that day?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Perfect. Well, I think we've covered a lot of bases. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much for your feedback. It's important for the students to constantly give us feedback. We don't always see these lessons from your viewpoint, so I've definitely learned a lot. Mr. Kestner, I'm sure, so. Until
Very
November 16th.
I'll see you in the hallways.
Great, thanks.
Thank you.